logged in here, and we'll get started properly in just a few minutes here. For those who just joined here, we're just going to give it a couple more minutes for folks to log in. Looks like we have a lot of folks that are just now connecting, so we'll get started here shortly. All right, we'll go ahead and get started here. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for taking time out of your day to join this webinar with us. My name is Steve Jones. I'm an application specialist here at Bluebeam Software. And one of the things that I really enjoy is helping our customers to learn how to leverage technologies like Bluebeam Revu to really take their workflows paperless and to move away from those traditional paper-based workflow. So that's kind of the theme of the webinar today. So the theme today is to discover how to go green using Bluebeam. So we're going to be going over how to leverage Bluebeam as a tool to replace those paper-based workflows and work more efficiently in the PDF format. So first and foremost, I want to thank our partner Novedge. So Novedge is actually a platinum level partner of Bluebeam. They've been working with us for a number of years now, and a lot of being that platinum highest level status is they've been extensively trained on the product and are happy to answer any sort of questions you may have. So I would highly recommend anyone, if you have any questions about the product after the webinar, please feel free to reach out directly to Novedge. I'm going to make sure and put their contact information up at the end. So today's webinar is actually a very special format. It's going to give you AIA continuing education credits. So with that, there is kind of a standard format that I need to go ahead and follow in order to meet the requirements to issue those credits. So we're going to start out just kind of running through the learning objectives, how to receive your credits and so forth in the beginning section of the call. So I just kind of ask that you bear with me during that part, and then we'll spend the vast majority of our time actually demoing the software live and running through some different workflows. So like I mentioned, everyone who is attending this webinar live is going to receive AIA education credits. So in order to do so, firstly, we do ask that you attend the entire webinar. So we are kind of keeping track of attendance and who's in for how long. So I highly encourage you to make sure you can make it all the way through the webinar to receive your credit. Also, after the webinar is concluded, we'll be sending out a survey to all of the attendees. Make sure you fill out that survey because that's one of the ways that we track who actually attended the webinar through that survey. So to make sure you receive those credits, make sure you finish that survey. Just as a heads up for anyone who is watching this video recording at a later time, unfortunately you do have to attend the webinar live to receive continuing education credits. So folks watching the recording unfortunately are not eligible. So as I mentioned, I do have kind of a standard format I need to run through here, so I'm just going to read off these slides and just bear with me for a few minutes and we'll get to the good stuff soon. So like I mentioned, you'll earn credits that will be reported to AIA CES for AIA members, and we'll also provide certificates of completion for AIA members and non-members upon request. This course is registered with AIA CES for continuing professional editing and collaboration really moved to paperless workflows. And traditionally, we've seen with our customers by doing this, a lot of times they're able to cut down their paper usage by more than 85%. So not only are you saving those costs, as well as helping to go green, you're working much more quickly and more efficiently. Our learning objectives today are to learn how Bluebeam Revu allows architects, engineers, and construction professionals to adapt digital workflows that span the entire project lifecycle, from site surveys and field reports all the way to the design, review, and punch. We're also going to discover how you can edit and mark up PDFs on the go and collaborate them real time from anywhere using Revu on a tablet, PC, or iPad, or any other compatible device. We're also going to explore how PDF editing tools let you edit text, apply headers, footers, assemble files, add, delete, rotate pages, redline 2D and 3D PDFs, use customizable markup tools, stamps. We'll get into measurement tools as well, performing counts, measurements, a little bit into takeoffs, and also how to use our custom columns to set up formulas. Oh, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself there. So that's actually the end of our slides. So now that we've kind of done our due diligence here, let's get into the good stuff. So the live demo portion. So I appreciate your patience. I'm just going to hit escape here and jump us right into the software. And one thing that I want to take note of before I jump into the demo portion, I do have one of my colleagues here at Bluebeam, Markup, he's manning the questions window. So if you have any questions as we're going along through this presentation, just type them in that questions window and we'll go ahead and get those answered for you. We also are kind of budgeting some time at the very end of the webinar as well to go through any unanswered questions, or if there's a question that we've seen several times, we'll go ahead and address it on the call. So this is Bluebeam Revu. So some of you may have seen this before. For some of you, this may be the first time you've ever seen it before. But probably the first thing you'll notice about the overall interface here is that it's pretty simple. There's not a ton of icons or tools or anything going on up here. And a lot of that is because I'm actually working in what's called the simple profile. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So right here under the View window, I have Profiles, and Revu comes with a number of profiles pre-built in there. You can also create your own custom profiles. And essentially, you can think of these profiles as presets for what tools you're going to have displayed and where. So to illustrate here, I'm going to jump into this construction profile. And when I do that, you'll see that I have all of these tools that popped up here along the top, as well as here along the right-hand side. Now, the idea with profiles is that we identify that we have a wide variety of customers that are doing a huge variety of workflows, and then you also have different users with different levels of technology aptitude. So naturally, you're going to have your power users that want every single tool under the sun displayed at all times, and then you also have folks that are going to be kind of intimidated by that, and they want purely just the handful of tools that they're using on a frequent basis. So the entire interface of Revu is designed to be customizable to your needs. So if I just right-click here, if I know I'm doing lots of text document editing, I can turn on my advanced text tools right there. Whereas, let's say, for example, I don't particularly care about my line style tools, or I rarely use them, and I just want to get them out of the way, I can toggle those off. I can also click and drag these tools to rearrange them however I see fit. And once I've gotten things exactly the way I like them, I can save them in a custom profile. So I'll go ahead and create my own custom profile here, just called Steve, and save that for future use. So it's right there in that drop-down box here. And profiles can be easily exported to other users. So where you might find this handy is if you have several folks in your company that are doing similar tasks, you can create profiles for them ahead of time, export them out, get everyone standardized on the same profiles. Before I jump into kind of navigating through the rest of the interface here, one thing that I really want to note about the PDF file format, which is at our most basic level, Revu is a PDF software. The great thing about PDFs, the beauty of them, is that they're what's called an ISO standard file format. And what that means is that like a JPEG or an MP3 or lots of other file types, regardless of what software you open it in, it's going to be exactly the same. So if I create a PDF in Revu, I email it to someone using another PDF software, whether it's Adobe, Nuance, Nitro, etc. They can open it up. It's going to be completely compatible, and vice versa. If somebody sends me a PDF from Acrobat, I can open it up in Revu, absolutely no problems. And that's one of the great things about using PDFs as a digital form of paper. So with that being said, let's look at the interface a little bit more. So you'll notice as I'm kind of running through this, this presentation, I'm going to be using these blue pull tabs along the bottom and side quite a bit. And what these do is either display some of the tabs that have the tools that I need, or if I just want screen real estate, I can collapse those as well and get those out of the way. So let's start on the left-hand side here. This is the File Access tab, and the name says pretty much everything. It's a way to access your files. So we understand that a lot of our customers are operating with project folders with all of their drawing sets in there, and a lot of times these folders have lots and lots of subfolders. So rather than forcing you to go to open and click through your 15 different subfolders to get to that PDF you need, you can pin those commonly used documents right here along the side. And as I hover over them, you'll see a little preview of what that's going to look like. I can also jump right into that root folder by just clicking on the folder there. Well, let's go ahead and let's open up some documents and see what it's going to look like. So I'll open up, this is actually an AutoCAD drawing. I have some specifications here. Let's open up a 3D PDF. And I have an RFI template right here. So First thing you'll notice opening up all these documents is that you have a tabbed interface. This is great because you're not having to work with lots of separate windows and constantly be minimizing and maximizing them. You can just jump between those tabs. I also have the ability to break off these tabs. So let's say I'm working with dual monitors and I want to put this A201 drawing on my second monitor. I can click and drag, break that off, and just throw it on my second monitor if I'm so inclined. I can also dock it back in there. So that's very handy. One thing also you'll notice is that my scroll wheel on my mouse, Revu is intelligent enough to be able to automatically set it to either zoom in and out or scroll up and down depending on the document type. So this A201 is a large format drawing. I'm using my scroll wheel. I can zoom in and out there. Whereas if I look at these specifications, it's an 8 by 11 multi-page document. I probably don't want to zoom in and out. So the scroll wheel is smart enough to identify that I instead want to scroll up and down. And naturally, you can override this as well if you're so inclined. Cool. So I have lots of different documents open. What if I want to view a couple of revisions at the same time, side by side? That is very straightforward to do. So I have this A201 drawing. I have my revision 2 here. Butterfingers, clicking on the wrong stuff today. So my revision 2 here. If I want to view them side by side, I can just go down here to split screen. I'm able to split my screen vertically or horizontally, either way. Let's go with vertically. So I've got my revision 2 on the right. I'll open up my first revision on the left here, and I can view those in split screen. So this is great. If I want to zoom in on this this conference room and electrical closet here, I can do that and maybe take a look at how that compares on this drawing right here. Certainly handy, but what if I want to match up my exact same view on both sides? This is where you use sync down here at the bottom. So I'll turn this on, and you'll notice as I'm navigating around here and zooming in and out, it matches my view exactly on the other side. And if I switch to the other side here and move it around, exact same thing. So it's really easy for me to see that on this revision 2, this doorway has been changed to a double door that's now opening out into the hallway instead of a single door opening into the room. I'll just go ahead and turn off sync here. As I mentioned, you can split your screen up to 16 times vertically and horizontally. So let's go ahead and do that a little bit. I'm going to drag my 3D PDF down here. So I have my 3D house there. Up here, I'm going to have my specifications. Here I have my drawing. Let's make things a little bit even more complicated here. I'm actually going to open up a web tab, and that way I can look up something on the internet. So since I'm out in California, let's look at California building codes. And I can look that up right here in Revu. So the whole concept here is you can view all of the information that you need and all the documents you're working with within essentially one window pane. You're not having to jump between your web browser and tons of different windows. It makes it much more manageable. And splitting your screen 16 times may seem kind of ridiculous, and frankly, I'm on a 15-inch laptop right now, so it is kind of ridiculous. But where we see folks leveraging this is we have clients who maybe have Revu running on a workstation in their plan room or out in their plan trailer, and they have it hooked up to a 50 or 60-inch display. And in cases like that, it certainly is conceivable that you could use it that many times. Great. So I'm just going to close some of these windows here so it makes it a little more manageable. And I showed you how to do split screen and compare documents using 2 different window panes, but we actually have some really powerful features that allow you to quickly compare a couple of different revisions of your drawing here, and I'll illustrate those for you. So I'm going to go ahead and close some of these other documents I have open. So right now I just have this A201 and then my revision 2, or the two documents I have open. If I have those two different versions and I'm not sure what the changes are, whoever sent them to me has not made notes on there, they haven't clouded them or whatever, a quick way for me to identify that is using our document comparison tool. So there's essentially two different flavors, so to speak, of document comparison. First I'll show you is overlay pages. So let's show you how that works. Overlay pages, I could potentially do this with more than two different versions. We don't limit how many different layers you do. So you could have 5, 6, 8, 10 different layers on there, all color-coded. So that's up to you. And of course, you can define what colors you want right there. So I have my, my two drawings loaded up here. Let's go ahead and layer them on top of each other. And here's what it's going to look like. Essentially, anywhere where they overlap is just black. Anywhere where they do not overlap is color-coded to whatever colors I define for those layers. So I can see here that this prep dish and dry storage area is new, as well as if I look at this entryway here, this entryway has been shifted a little bit as well. I can turn on and off these layers however I choose, and either just show one or show a combination of several just by using my layers tab right here. So this is almost like a light table effect, and this is certainly way more efficient than trying to look at two separate paper documents, throwing them both on a table and trying to figure out, okay, what did they change here? You can just, boom, you load it up right here in your PDF and quickly identify that. So it's a very powerful tool, but I like the other way of using compare documents even better here. So I'll show you how that works. If I go to comparison, compare documents right here, it's going to automatically load up the two documents that I have opened right now. I've set it to split screen and synchronize after it compares those. And rather than telling you about it, I'm going to show you. So let's go ahead and run it. So what Revu has done here is it did a pixel by pixel comparison of those two drawings in a couple of seconds. And it automatically added these cloud markups around every single change that it made. So that prep dish dry storage area, this entryway that's been shifted, this doorway that we looked at earlier that's been changed. So everything that has been changed here. Looks like this text has been changed. It caught that. So I did not do anything with these clouds. This was entirely automated. So you can imagine this is an extremely powerful tool, especially if we're talking about a document set that's more than just one page like this. You could do it with a set that is, dozens or hundreds of pages. You're talking about saving yourself hours and hours and hours of work. And I always tell folks when I'm doing these sort of demonstrations for them, frankly, I think this is like a feature within Revu that really justifies the tool in itself. If it was Bluebeam document comparison software and that was all it did, I think it would absolutely still be worth using as a tool regardless. But the great news is that there's lots of other stuff that it does as well. So let's get into a few cool features that were introduced in the most recent version that really serve our purpose of going green and moving away from those paper workflows. I'll go ahead and close some of these documents that I have open here. So the first thing I'm going to show you here is a feature called Automark. So I'm going to actually close this A201. Let's open up a document set that has a lot more pages to it. So if I look at my thumbnails tab, you'll see that this is a multi-page document, and some of my pages have page labels on them. Some of them do not. And frankly, the page labels that I have, they might even not be the format that I want. or they might not even be particularly useful to me, so I have to change them anyways. So if I had to manually type new page labels for all of this, honestly, that's a huge waste of my time. And frankly, it's something that a lot of you may be farming out to your interns or some of your new folks or whoever to take care of, because it's a really monotonous task. We don't want to do that. We don't want to waste our time on monotonous tasks. So let's look at how you could do that much more quickly. So if you look at this document set, down in all of my, or at the bottom right-hand corner of all of these sheets, I have a drawing number. So let's say I want to use that drawing number for all of my page labels here. Well, what I can essentially do is tell Revu that, hey, for all of these pages, look down here at this spot on the page, and this is where you're going to find the information that I want you to use for your page labels. So I'll show you how to do that. In this thumbnails view, if you click Create Page Labels, this is where we're going to get started. If I am fortunate enough to already have bookmarks for this document set, I can just use those to create my page labels. But we're going to operate off the assumption that it's a worst case scenario and I don't have any bookmarks at all. So let's define our page region. So if I select page region and hit select, I'm essentially going to tell Revu where to find the information it needs for those page labels. So I'll just click and drag to select that area, and it's going to give me a preview of what this is going to look like. I can potentially do multiple regions if I'm so inclined. So I could do underscore, and let's say I want to have underscore and then my drawing title. So you can see a preview of what that's going to look like. And let's take it even further and say I want to do underscore and then maybe my initials, SJ, because this is the document set that I put my markups on. You can add as many regions and prefixes and suffixes as you'd like. There's no limits on that. But for this particular example, let's just keep it simple. I'm just going to use that drawing number for all my page labels. So let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to click OK. It's going to do it for all 35 of my pages. I could change that if I wanted to, but let's do it for all of them. Click OK. It's going to take a couple seconds, and look at that. It's like magic, right? I know, I guarantee you there's people on this call that are looking at this, and they're like, you just saved me hours and hours of my day. So for those people, hopefully you can reclaim part of your day and find more productive tasks. And I guess you can send your interns to go get coffee or something instead of doing page labels. So that is Automark. And something else we can do now that we have those page labels is it's very easy to create those bookmarks. So if I do create bookmarks, I can just use those freshly created page labels, and boom, there you go. There they are. And you have to think about this in the grand scheme of things. So this is something that not only will you benefit from, it's going to make your life easier, but every single person that you send this document set to is going to benefit from having the page labels set up and having those bookmarks set up. So you're not just saving yourself man-hours and headache, you're saving everyone on your team, you're saving your clients, you're saving your subs, whoever you're working with. You are making their lives easier. You're making the world a better place. So that is Automark. Let's take things one more step and cover batch link. So batch link is another new feature that just came out in Revu 12. And batch link is actually, just as a heads up, it's only in the Revu Extreme version. So when I show you this, and you're, I'm sure, flabbergasted, make sure you keep that in mind when you're considering different versions here. So let's look at how it works. First, I'm going to go ahead and save this document set now that I have all my page labels and everything set up. I'll just throw it on my desktop. There we go. So the theme of the webinar is all about going green, moving away from paper processes to digital processes. And in order to get people to truly move away from paper, you have to make it easier. And one of the huge benefits that you have working in electronic format is the ability to hyperlink those document sets together so you can quickly jump between the pages you need. However, creating hyperlinks the traditional way is cumbersome, right? So let's say I want to hyperlink this index on my, my index page here. If I was to create those hyperlinks one by one by one, that is going to take me a while. So let me go ahead and show you how I would do that here. So right here, so if I go to Markup, Hyperlink, essentially I would create or click Hyperlink, select whatever I want to hyperlink, and then tell it either to jump to a certain page, hyperlink to a website, or open a particular file, whatever it may be. And that's one hyperlink that I've created. So for me to make it all the way through this list, it's going to take me a while. And you can imagine if let's say I was working on an even larger project, maybe I'm working on an airport, and we have thousands and thousands of pages, and I want to hyperlink the index. That's a huge pain. And especially if you're updating sheets and slip sheeting and so forth, you do not want to have to do those manually. So batch link is truly a game changer here. So I'm going to show you how that works. So first, I'm going to go to File, Batch, and Link. And this is going to be a new batch link process. I haven't run it on this document before, so I'll just click New. And I'll say that I want to batch link the file that I have open right now. And in some ways, batch link shares some similarities with that Automark. So the reason I say that is for setting up your hyperlinks, you can use your file names to set up those hyperlinks. You can use those page labels if you're fortunate enough to have those. Or like Automark, you can use a page region. And this is what I'm going to demonstrate for you today. So I want to hyperlink this index right here. So I can click on A301 and it'll jump me straight there, or A500, I'll go straight there. So essentially, I need to tell Revu where to find these drawing numbers so it knows where to point the hyperlinks to. So just like before, I'm going to click and drag and select that drawing number. And there we go. I've set my region. Just like before, I can define multiple regions as well. But again, for simplicity, I'll just do that drawing number, hit OK. And now that I've defined that, I'm going to click Generate. And it's going to generate all of these hyperlinks. So here it's telling me essentially what it found in that area that I told it to search in, and where it's going to point you towards with the hyperlink. So I can override this. If I wanted anywhere, where it found A100, if I don't want it, for whatever reason, don't want it to go to A100, I want to point it somewhere else, I can override that right here. But I'm going to operate off the assumption that we just want people to go straight to those drawing numbers. So for the sake of illustration here, so you guys can see it happen, I'm going to set it up to highlight those links in blue, just so it kind of pops out once I do it, and you can see it visually. And another important thing is just by default, this Use Relative Paths checkbox is selected. This is really important. 99% of the time, you're going to want to leave that alone and use relative paths. The great thing about that is that when you're using relative paths, as long as you have these documents, even if I split out all these sheets to individual one-page PDFs, as long as I have them together in that project folder and they stay together in that project folder, all those hyperlinks are still going to work. And if I email them out to different people, they can open them up. All the hyperlinks are still going to work for them as long as they have that folder. Okay, so I'll go ahead and click OK, and I'm going to run it. And let's see how long it takes and how many we generate. So it's running right now. It's going to take us a couple seconds. 132 hyperlinks. So if I'd done 132 hyperlinks manually, that is probably maybe hour and a half, 2 hours of my time that I would have wasted right there. And anytime I updated any of these revisions, I'd have to manually go through and fix all of them. And now you'll see these are highlighted with blue. If I click that on that A201, there we go. We're at A201 now. So if I click this A300, here we are. A700, there we go. So this is one of the big drivers for moving paperless instead of doing the traditional methods, because I could jump between these sheets so much faster. It's so much more manageable to work with these digital document sets. And just like I said before with Automark, this is something that not only you will benefit from, everybody who touches this document ever will benefit from being able to quickly jump through all these hyperlinks. So this is one of my favorite things to show folks whenever we're talking about going green. Alrighty. So I'm going to go ahead and again save this now that I have all my nice links set up. So let's say that I don't necessarily want one huge document set with all of my pages in there. A lot of you folks are probably working with individual one-page PDF sheets, and there's lots of reasons to do that. It's smaller file size. You can quickly replace specific pages instead of updating the whole document. If somebody accidentally deletes something or saves over something, you don't lose your whole set, just that one page. So the list goes on. So if I want to do that with this document set I'm working with, it's a very simple affair. So I just did Control-A to select all these pages here. I'm going to go to Document, Pages, Extract Pages. So I'm going to extract all of those pages. I want to do it as separate files. And I'm going to use those nice page labels I set up to name those files. I don't need to open all of them after extraction, so I'll uncheck that. So let's go ahead and extract these. I have just a folder on my desktop. It's an empty folder. There's nothing in it for extracted sheets. And let's throw it in there. So Revu just extracted all those pages. If I minimize and jump to this extracted sheets folder, here they are. Here's all your individual one-page PDFs. So if I open 201, there it is right there. And remember what I said earlier about relative hyperlinks? So even though this is a one-page PDF, if I click on this link, there we go, A500. So it's having your cake and eating it too. You have those individual sheets, but they're all still linked together and easily navigable. Alrighty. So those are some really powerful tools for going paperless. Another commonly used workflow or commonly needed feature is being able to edit text within your PDF documents. So especially if you're going paperless, that's a really important thing to be able to do. So to illustrate that, I'm going to close these drawings and maybe open something a little more applicable to this. So I have my specifications here. So let's say somebody emails this to you and you want to change some of the verbiage in here, or maybe the title or the date or whatever, and you don't have the benefit of the original Word document where you could just go in and change the Word document. All you have is the PDF. Well, with Revu, you do have the ability, I could export this back to Word. I can actually export this as a number of file formats, as you can see here. So I could send that back to Word and then make my changes and then export it back to PDF. But that's not particularly efficient. So what I'll do is actually just modify the text right here within Revu. So You'll notice that this text is already searchable and selectable, and this is because it was printed electronically, probably from our Office plugin or your Windows PDF printer or something along those lines. If it was a paper document that somebody scanned in, you would need to run OCR first to make it searchable, selectable. But anyways, this text is searchable, selectable. A lot of folks have the misconception that PDFs are unchangeable, and this could not be further from the truth. So if I go up here to my advanced text tools that I turned on earlier and just hit edit text, I can change this text to whatever I would like. So if I want to amend my contract that instead of providing labor, materials, and equipment, they should provide labor, materials, and cheese, I can do that. So there we go. I just edited that text right there in the document. I didn't have to export it back to Word and back and forth. I just did it on the fly. So working with text documents as well is extremely straightforward and easy to do here. All right, so on the topic of making changes to PDFs and adding your notes and comments on here, I want to segue into leveraging markup tools and our tool chest. So for most folks that get started with Revu, this is kind of the first thing that they have exposure to is using those markup tools. So if you do have some experience, hopefully we'll kind of go over some new material that can kind of expand your existing knowledge. So let's jump back into an AutoCAD drawing. So I'll open up that A201 and let's close that those specifications there. So like I mentioned before, if we're going to go paperless and go green, you really have to, in order to get buy-in from users, you have to make it easier than working with pen and paper. And that is something that is truly achievable within Revu. So I'll show you how. So to access your markup tools, there's a couple different ways to skin that cat, right? If you go to Markup, you got all your markup tools along the top here. I can also toggle them on right here, but my personal preference is using these markup tools along the right-hand side here. So you have a lot of these sort of industry standard markups that you would expect here. Of course, your pen and highlighter tools and your lines and polygons. So let's be real here. We're not reinventing the wheel here. And then you've got kind of your more AEC centered markups, such as clouds and callouts here. So if I want to add a note or maybe ask, is this bathroom ADA compliant? I can do that very quickly. I can also insert images. So let's say I'm doing a walk through this building after it's been put together, and I notice an enormous crack in the wall. Instead of, describing what this crack looks like, let's just throw it right there. So I just used a file straight from my hard drive. I can also snap a photo on the go. Let's say I'm using this, I'm using Revu on an iPad or on a Windows-based tablet, and I just want to use my webcam to snap a quick photo. I can do that. So brace yourselves. You're going to get to see yours truly here. So there you go, the man behind the webinar. So I just snapped a photo there and dropped it right on the drawing. So whether that was, a crack in the wall or a wall that needs to be repainted or you name it, whatever the issue is, you can just snap a photo on the fly, drop it right on there. Another really handy tool that I like to leverage, if you need to maybe copy elements of your drawing and add them to other areas, we have what's called the snapshot tool. So let's say that I want to add, or let's say I want to play a joke on my architect and I want to add some toilets in the middle of this classroom here real quickly. I can just grab that snapshot tool, essentially copy this toilet right here, and paste it right into that classroom there. So let's throw a few more for good measure, make sure our classrooms are well stocked with those toilets. And I can rotate these to whatever orientation I would like as well, and of course scale them. Just put a big toilet there. So you can do this not only with small elements like toilets, fixtures, doors, windows, shrubberies, you name it. You can also do it with entire rooms. So let's say I wanted to do just a quick mock-up of replacing, I don't know, this classroom right here with another lounge and electrical closet. I could snapshot this and essentially plop it right over this classroom and do a quick little mock-up there. So all of these markups are well and good, but naturally I'm not going to want to just have everything in red. Maybe I want different colors depending on if I'm doing electrical notes or plumbing or structural, you name it. I need to be able to customize those. So this is how you do it. If you select your markup and go to the properties panel, I can quickly change those visual properties on the fly here. So I'll make this blue and a little more opaque and increase my line thickness. That looks fine and dandy. If I want my callout to have the same color scheme, we actually have a format painter tool. And I can use format painter not only on individual markups, but on groups of them as well. So I can click and drag and select, 15 different markups to give it those properties if I was so inclined. So that looks great. I customize this callout and cloud exactly the way I want, but I don't want to have to do that every single time I'm marking up a drawing. That's a huge pain. So I'm going to work better and use the tool chest. So the tool chest is a way to save your preferences and your markups for future use. So if you look at my recent tools, I have this exact same call out that I used before, and I could drop that on there again if I was so inclined. I also have my fantastic self-portrait there. Naturally, I'd want to add a few more of those on there, or whatever. But if I want to use it in the long term, I'll go ahead and create tool sets. So let's create a custom tool set. I'll call this Steve. And it's a blank tool set there. If I want to build that out, it's really as simple as just click and drag. So boom, boom, boom. There's my tool set. So every time I jump into review, those markups are going to be available to me. And just like profiles, I can export them out to other users. I can even include them in the initial installation whenever they install the software. So you can have all of your users and your coworkers standardized on the same color schemes and the same markups. They're not wasting a lot of redundant time each independently building their own tool sets. You could have one guy who's maybe one of your more tech-savvy people on the team, build out everyone's tool sets, export them out, you're up and running. So this is a great way to customize and add markups here, but I need a way to track all these markups that are being added to this drawing, and this is where you're going to use the markups list. So you can think of the markups list as it's sort of like an Excel spreadsheet living right within your document here. So like Excel, I've got columns here that I can toggle on and off. Maybe I couldn't care less what my markup colors are, so I'll just toggle that off. Maybe I'm doing a lot of takeoffs for flooring, so I'm doing lots of area measurements. I can turn that on, and naturally I can click and drag, change which order these are displayed in. I can sort and filter by whatever criteria I'd like, just like Excel there. So this is a great way to track and manage all those comments that are being made. So what if I've sent this drawing to some of my team members or consultants or what have you, and they've each independently marked up their own separate versions of the drawing, and I want to essentially scrape off all those markups and put them on my master drawing. Well, the traditional paper process, as I'm sure most of you are aware, would be to essentially lay all those separate drawing sets on the table and then essentially manually copy all of those markups onto one drawing set. That's not only time-consuming waiting for them to mail those sets to us and then having to copy all those markups. It's also costly to print all that paper, and we're killing a lot of trees, aren't we? And that's not what we want to do. We want to go paperless. So I'm going to show you a better way to do that. So we have something called import comments here. If I just do import, I'm going to go ahead to my copies of the PDF that my consultants have returned back to me. This is nothing fancy. It's not a special file type or anything like that. It's literally the exact same PDF that we're looking at, just with their individual comments on them separately. And I'm going to just import all those comments on there. So if I collapse this tab and zoom out a little bit, you'll notice that I have these electrical, mechanical, and plumbing notes that have been placed right onto my master drawing there. And all of these are also in my markups list. So this is tremendously faster and more efficient than those old school paper methods. Now, I mentioned the ability to set up custom columns within this markups list. I'll show you an example of where you could apply that. You can do custom columns with formulas, such as, let's say I'm doing takeoffs, and I want to create different area measurement tools for different types of flooring and assign a per square foot cost and have it auto-calculate. I could absolutely do that using custom columns. In this scenario, I have actually created a responsibility column that is essentially a drop-down list of folks that I can assign responsibility. So before that, I'll demonstrate filters. Let's filter down to just our electrical comments there. And let's assign some responsibility here. So I've populated this list with some names, and I'm just going to go through and assign these tasks to a few different people. So let's say that I've assigned all my tasks, and I want to create a task list of items that M. Smith is responsible for. So maybe they're a consultant of mine or subcontractor or whoever, and I need to send them this list. I can actually filter down the responsibility to M. Smith there. You'll notice as I filter down, anything that I filtered out is turned gray to kind of make it not, kind of removes it from my view. But it's still there. All the markups are still there. It's just sort of a visual filter. But anyway, so I've created this task list of items that M. Smith needs to address. Let's go ahead and export it. So this markups list that I have down here, you can export it to CSV if you want it in Excel format, which is handy if you're doing takeoffs, for example, XML, or PDF. So for this particular scenario, let's do PDF. Before I do that, let me turn off some of these columns that I'm not using here. Let's get rid of that one and this one. There we go. All right, so let's export it to PDF. I'm going to append it to my current PDF, which means that it's going to add an additional page onto the end of this drawing. Let's title this Smith Task List and go ahead and generate it. So if I look at my thumbnails view, I have my initial drawing that I was working with all of my data still in this markups list. Right now it's filtered out, but I can just turn off those filters there. So I got this drawing. I also have a second page with this task list. So I have all of the information that was displayed down here in my columns is what's going to be displayed here in this markup summary. And then I have whatever applicable notes. I have my title. I have this nice little screenshot of what it looks like. But if M. Smith is looking at this and he says, okay, well, where's this conference room 116? Where is that in the main drawing? How do I get there? This is hyperlinked. So if I click on that, it takes me right there on the drawing. And the beauty of the PDF, since it's an ISO standard, if I email this to somebody that doesn't even have Bluebeam, if they have Adobe, Nuance, or whatever, all those hyperlinks will still work. So again, not only do you benefit, everyone you work with benefits from using these processes and really embracing this paperless model. Great. So we're cutting it close on time. So very quickly here, I'm going to cover measurements and Studio. So for measurements, I'll go ahead and open a fresh copy of this A201. As I mentioned before, you can do takeoffs within Revu. We have a full selection of measurement tools here. I'm actually going to jump into my takeoff profile here. So when I do that, I actually have these measurement tools displayed along the side. I can also access them along the top. And what you can essentially do is first you calibrate your drawing. So the way you do that is if you have a known distance, so I know this is 6 feet 8 inches, I can essentially click between those 2 points, set up my known distance there, hit enter. My drawing is now calibrated. And then I can go ahead and whether I'm doing area to do flooring takeoffs or I'm doing perimeter to calculate crown molding, I can use those measurement tools right within Revu. So you can see right there it's 1,897. Let's say that I have one flooring type for this cafeteria. Maybe I have a stage over here that's going to be a different flooring type and I want to do a cutout. I can do a cutout right here, and you'll notice this area right here automatically calculates or recalculates the measurement there. And I can also set up my custom costs right down here in the markups list to auto-calculate your cost there. All right, lastly, to wrap things up here, I know I'm kind of moving more quickly now. I definitely want to hit on Studio. That's huge when you're talking about going paperless. Studio is included absolutely free with every version of Revu. And there's 2 ways of working within Studio. First is projects. So both Studio projects and sessions, the second piece, are hosted within the Amazon cloud. So it's definitely secure. It's an enterprise class solution. So using projects, you can think of it as almost like a lightweight document management system. You can upload your documents into the cloud, not only PDFs, but any file type, even Word documents, AutoCAD drawings, you name it, you can upload them. You have unlimited storage space. You can upload them in the cloud. Essentially, anyone that wants to make changes, they can check it out, make their changes, and check it back in. You're going to have a revision history where you can track exactly who made what changes and when. You can set permissions for what different users and groups are allowed to do, what they're allowed to change, who has access to it, and so forth. And one of the beauties of Studio is that you can share these documents even with people that do not own Bluebeam. So if you invite somebody that does not own Bluebeam Revu, all they have to do is download the free PDF viewer. It's called View. And if they join using the free PDF viewer, it essentially unlocks all their markup tools, and they'll have full collaboration capabilities built in there. So this is Studio Projects. The second way of working with Studio is Sessions, which is real-time collaboration. I can have up to 500 simultaneous users looking at this drawing at the same time and adding their markups. So you can notice I have my various attendees that have been in this session at any point in time, the drawings I'm working with. It keeps a running record of everything that has transpired in this session. And I also have all of my markups in the markup list. And you'll notice if I select somebody else's markups, even though I'm the administrator, I can't change this, I can't delete it, I can't do anything with it. I can only change my own markups, and even then, it's all tracked in this running record. And when I'm all done collaborating on this drawing, I can create a summary report that shows exactly everything that transpired in this particular session right here in this report. I have my attendees, our documents we're working with, our record, everything is hyperlinked. So looking at this, I had a comment here, hey, look at this. I can click on that. It jumps me right back to exactly what my view was when I did that. So extremely powerful collaboration tool for anyone looking to go green. Highly encourage anyone that's interested to check it out. And with that, we are actually out of time here, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So I'm going to wrap things up here by jumping back to my slide deck. So if I jump to my final slide here, one moment. This is the conclusion of our webinar today. I really appreciate everyone's time and attention. I hope that you learn some new things and new ways to leverage Revu to go paperless and go green. I highly encourage anyone that has any questions about the product, how to use it, Studio, how it's licensed, acquisition, anything like that, to please reach directly out to Novedge. You can reach Calvin. He's one of their sales reps who's gone through extensive training for Bluebeam. You can email him at calvin@novedge.com. You can also call Novedge Sales at 866-362-8970. And, of course, you can check out Novedge's site at novedge.com. So definitely follow up with them. They're a platinum level partner. They do a fantastic job and can definitely help you with anything you need. So as I said before, make sure you fill out those surveys that go out after the webinar. That's how we make sure to ensure that you receive your credit. Feel free to shoot us an email if you would like a copy of your certificate. We're happy to provide that for you. And with that, we're at full time. I'm happy to stay on the line for a little bit longer and answer questions for anyone who is interested. And for folks that don't have any more time yet, you can go ahead and drop up the call. I really appreciate your time and attention. So I'm going to jump into the questions panel here. All right, I'm just opening this up. Yep.
A question about JavaScript there, but I don't have the technical expertise.
Sure. I'm just reading this question here. Gotcha. So we had a question about turning text into proper text using JavaScript and data validation. Unfortunately, that question about JavaScript, I'm not quite sure how to answer that question. So we can follow up with you after the webinar. We'll shoot you an email and get in touch and get you some answers to that. We had a few questions about the recording for this webinar. Everything was recorded. We'll be providing the recording to Novedge, and they'll be posting it up on their site. Novedge has a full attendee list, so they'll be following up with all of you and sending out the link to the recording. There was a question here about overriding scrolling versus zooming on the mouse wheel when you're looking at different types of documents. The way you do that is, if I just open up my specifications here, it defaults to, or excuse me, it defaults to the scrolling up and down. You can override it right down here. So if I switch to this full page view, I can zoom in and out. If I switch to scrolling, it's going to scroll me up and down. We also had a question about where's the sync button that we looked at earlier to sync your views for multiple documents. It's right here in the bottom right-hand corner. You can toggle this on and off right there.
Sorry. Oh, that toolbar, if it's not appearing, it's the status bar under interface.
Yep. Yep. So there's a question about how to get to the markups list. It's just this blue pull tab right here at the bottom. You can click and open that up. You can click and drag it to adjust it, or if you just click it once, it'll just spring right open there. We had a question here about how I did a particular markup. So your markup tools are always going to be available right here along the top, regardless of what profile you're in. So you can access your pen, lines, arrows, polygons, so forth. And then depending on what you have turned on in your given profile, they can also appear down here in this toolbar on top and then also along the side. So if I swap to my construction profile, for example, I have all these markup tools toggled on the right-hand side. And this is all customizable. There was a question about whether hyperlinks will work if someone is using something besides Revu, like Adobe Reader or Preview. The answer is yes. So since it's ISO standard file format, any PDF viewer, reader, software, the hyperlinks are going to work. Alrighty. There's a question about, is there a way to lock down PDFs to prevent people from making changes or notes or anything like that? The answer is yes. So I'll show you a couple of different things that are useful for that. So let's say you have your A201 drawing. I'm just going to throw a couple of clouds on here real quick just so I have some markups. First of all, if I want to ensure that nobody can tamper with these clouds and move them around or delete them or whatever, you can do what's called flattening. And I can either set it to where it's a reversible process by allowing markup recovery, or I can toggle that off to make it where it's completely irreversible. But essentially it's going to burn that markup right into the drawing. So you'll notice I can't select it anymore, I can't change it, it doesn't appear in the markups list anymore. It is now a part of the PDF content. So if you want to make sure they can't change your existing stuff, that's one way. If I want to lock it down even more to make it where folks cannot even add their own markups on there afterwards, right down here on the bottom right, you can adjust your security settings. So you can see right here I have everything allowed. I can set up different settings to make it where they can't add markups, they can't save copies or print it or you name it. So all these settings are adjustable here. If I want to change permissions, I can do it right here. All right. Okay, I'm just looking through the questions list. You all have a lot of good questions. Thanks for being so involved here, and it sounds like we've got some definite food for thought here. There's a question about a specific person that you can reach out to in regards to getting the recording. So Novedge will follow up with all of you with the recording link, but if you want a specific person to reach out to, you can just email Calvin. So calvin@novedge.com, and he can make sure to get that to you. All right. The question about importing or creating custom stamps. So absolutely you can do that. I actually intended to do that. We ran a little short on time, but Revu comes with a lot of kind of pre-populated default stamps. You can also import any stamps that other people have created. So it's just as simple as selecting the file and importing it in there. If you want to create one from scratch or customize it, you can just do create stamp right here, and it's going to jump you in our stamp creator. So I'll just call this test Novedge stamp. So here we go, we're in our stamp editor, and essentially here is where you can add any sort of images. So let's say I wanted to put my Bluebeam logo in my stamp. I could do that right there. I can add, my name. I can add you know, the dynamic date and maybe the name of the document. I can have those dynamic fields set up to custom populate. If you want to see kind of more in-depth about how to create these stamps, we do have some videos on the website on bluebeam.com. If you go to bluebeam.com here and go to training and free training videos, let me just scroll down here. Aha, stamps. So this video will actually show you how to set up those dynamic fields to fill in your name, the date, the name of the document, adjust the visual properties, whatever you may need. So I would definitely encourage you to check this out. All right, guys, we have some great questions. Unfortunately, I'm out of time. I have to run to another call, so we're going to wrap things up here. Thanks for your time and participation. We'll make sure and get that recording over to Novedge quickly. And hopefully you all learned some new things about going paperless today. So for any folks that did not get your question answered, whether in the chat window or addressing on the call, we'll follow up with you afterwards to make sure you get the answers you need. So with that, I will let you go. Thanks a lot, and have a great day.